Good morning, good morning, good Monday morning. Welcome to today's episode, Monday's episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Welcome one and all. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Hope you're looking forward to a productive week. So welcome. And as you come on, we encourage you to share the live, let them know that we're on. Some people might not have recovered from the weekend, either those who were celebrating or those who were mourning or those who are mourning. So welcome, share the live. Let them know that we're here Monday, the 8th day of September, 2025. Another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks for being in the land of the living. It is a privilege to be in the land of the living, and we should never, ever take that for granted. So welcome to all you students who are here. Already, I see hundreds. We got up to thousands of share. You come on, give us a thumbs up. I remind you again, too, to make sure that you subscribe to the channel on YouTube and that you follow the page on Facebook. I gave notification a little late. I had other stuff I was doing a little late yesterday. Just to remind you of the program today, and I can see those who are subscribed because no sooner than the notification was posted, you can see people saying, we'll be there, you're giving thumbs up and so on. Some people have not subscribed, and because they have not subscribed, they tend to miss out on these notifications and other stuff that is going on the channel. We have lots to talk about today. Lots to talk about. They had the inauguration of the new president yesterday. Following the elections last Monday, we got some more analysis to do on that. So share the live, and we're going to get into it. The usual thing we're going to do. By now you recognize what happened with the time. I'm taking guidance from some of the students, and sometimes we're not going to go through all the students who are here. We're going to go to those who have been in early, and then we're going to move on. We're going to make the announcements, and then we're going to go into it. My colleague CC is in the studio waiting. He has had some technical issues over the past couple of programs. We are hoping that this is now resolved. We'll know in a short while, and we are going to be with you. So share. Don't be selfish. Share the live, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up. I know when we start already without going through that roll call and so on, a lot of people are caught because some students would wait and until the average of that is finished before they come on. So now that it is truncated, they get caught flat-footed. They get caught with their pants down. So we're going to go into it in a short while. In terms of those who came in very, very early, 7 o'clock, the gates were open. And when we opened 7 o'clock, the first man in was Kenneth. Kenneth is from Maryland. Then we had Sean from New York. They all came in at 7. Peter, Lucius, Janella, Ezzy, Aubrey from Canada, Earl, Clarence, Puran, Essequibo Coast, Ulrich, West Dem, Paulette, Anthony from Petersall in the East Bank, Derek Trotty is here at 7, Carlton, my squad mate, 9430, Felicia, Moses, Floyd, Dexter, Morton, Siobhan, Esla. They all came at 7. And shortly after, we had Raul, Magnell, Mary. Then it was Vibert, Randolph, Brian, Carl. Then after Carl, it was Paulette, Clifton, all the way from Paris. Francis Keith came at 7:01. Clifton Stewart, Pastor Piston Smith, Pastor John, Orin from the UK, David. They all came at 7:01. And then the others kept coming in. And when the gates were open, or when the doors were open, the first person in, and this is the Facebook. Let me scroll through to see who was the first Facebooker that was on. The first Facebooker that was on was Edward Charles, a man who's always there very early, followed by Junior, Carlton Popo, Joy Prince. This is Thomasine. Then it was Joan from New Amsterdam, Trifosa, and the list goes on, and Allison, and the list goes on and on and on. So welcome. Share the live. Share the live. And I've said, we just passed 650, and just keep sharing, We're going to move into it. Yeah, for the announcements. A reminder that today is 526 days since Sergeant Vaughn was killed. Now, the government now, the president talking about transparency and all these things. So perhaps now that the elections are over, we might hear something about the case with Sergeant Vaughn, who was shot and killed on March the 12th, 2024. They said by friendly fire, Police Sergeant Vaughn, right? They said by friendly fire. And onto them. Initially, they said that the rank who shot him accidentally, they claimed, was under close arrest. That is March of 2024. And we have heard little after that. We heard about the postmortem examination, which showed that he had 3 bullet wounds. And I said then, and I'm going to continue to repeat, so you have to forgive me, I'm going to continue to repeat, that if it's 3 bullet wounds, unless it was an automatic firearm this person used, that can be an accident. Cannot be an accident. And they haven't told us what firearm this rank had. They didn't tell me nothing. They hardly told us anything. The family, I understand, still seeking closure. But that is what you have. And they talk about transparency. They talk about professionalism. They know not the meaning of those words. But let me move on. I was again saying, well, look, all right, there are no deaths to report and so on. And then it continues. Piss poor performance continues. PPPC. Piss poor performance continues. So they're reporting now. I don't think the police has made any official report. 2 fatal accidents over the weekend. 2 deaths over the weekend. Last Wednesday, we had Graves. Now, they're reporting that a child was crushed when a canter truck at Enmore. That would have been yesterday, I think. Enmore, canter truck torn over, and a child, 11-year-old child, I understand, crushed, killed. And then I'm seeing too, I saw a post this morning somewhere in the West Dem, or Rick, your area, Rhymes yet, that some accident, I don't know the circumstances, but they're saying there was a fatality there sometime yesterday or last night, sometime then. It continues. Piss poor performance continues. That is what PPPC is. Piss poor performance continues. And don't tell me, you're not going to come and say, you can't blame the government. The government didn't. Of course you have to blame them. All that is going on and going on. What have they done to address the issue? They have a man there, they call the commissioner of police. He had no ears, some years. So they're failing miserably. The traffic chief, all them failing miserably. And they're cocking the figure. So they talk about an incident. When a man, like in the Graves case last week Wednesday, he's riding along the road. Somehow we might have served, ran into mud, which should not be there. The man died. They call it an incident. That is not a fatal accident. We call it another death on the road. That's what we call it, another death on the road. The one with the child, I showed I'm going to tell you now, is an incident because apparently the man was speeding and he lost control of the canter. The canter toppled. The child died. I understand 2 other persons are in hospital. Oh, those are incidents. Those are not fatal accidents. Even though it occurred on the road. They are road deaths. And if you don't face up to it, you're not going to be able to put proper measures in place to deal with it. That is the reality. So we had those. And of course, we had other issues that we're going to talk about. Again, Saturday, the 6th of September, Saturday gone, was the 5th death anniversary of the Henry brothers, our cousins or whatever they were. 5th, Isaiah and Joel Henry. 5th anniversary, and that thing just passed just like that. Just passed. That is the society in which we live. These things just go by. Just go by. And that thing, look, if you see, that thing devastated our whole family. The Henry families. The Henry family. Devastated that family. The 2 youngsters killed in the back in a very brutal manner. Then the mother and the brother. Look, the thing is real sad. But then it just slipped by just like that. Just another year, just another statistic two brothers or two cousins died, and that's it. That's it. We move on. Business as usual. Business as usual. I gotta remind you all about that. Remind you all. Sad situation. By now, don't forget about Adriana Thomas too. Adriana Thomas, who was killed at Doubleday, East Bank, Chicago, just a few short months ago. Don't forget, move on, business as usual. Celebration. We're celebrating the re-election of the president. Don't we forget about all them things, man. Business as usual. Back to square one. That's what we have. Now let me come off this sad news and the sad note to tell you about the happier ones, birthdays. Today is the birth anniversary of, gotta get drum roll, a friend of mine, a fighter, Mark Benchcup. Mark is observing a natal day today. Also observing a natal day today is Mervyn Wilson. Mervyn, y'all might know Mervyn, but Mervyn used to be a rank at the TSU back in the day. We had a name we used to call him. I call the name on the program, right? But he himself, whenever he sees me, he would identify himself by that name. And he used to be there with Buxton and these guys, Talpi. They used to be members of the Doctorate Guard and the East Bank, supplying the East Bank. Marvin, happy birthday to you, Mark. Happy birthday. And then how can I not again mention belated birthday to my co-host CC, who celebrated his 72nd birthday on Saturday, right? I'm sure you had a ball on Saturday. Also, we had a recent birthday too. Retired woman sergeant Megan July, 12107 was her number. Megan had a birthday recently. But I'll tell you something about that. That was real police women, I was commander at West Demerara, Region 3, then at Leonora, my 4th Divisional Command. Megan was stationed somewhere on the West Bank. I think it was Wales or somewhere there. There was a report made against some individual in one of the villages there, and a man. And she went to the person and to arrest him, to take him to the station. And he tell Megan, if you all know Megan is a diminutive woman, short. He tells you, no woman can arrest me. That's what the police, that's what they want to tell the police. They send you for arrest me. No woman can arrest me. And I can go into details, but he was arrested. Megan arrested him. He get one, consumer, you're going to understand what Saint Percy and these guys. Coconut come in trushes, a whole bunch of coconut. You see a trush of coconut. He got one from the trush. He got one. And then he went to the station afterward, very, very humbly. Real policewoman. She went to arrest you, tell you can't arrest me because you're a woman. Megan took him to the station and he was dealt with. Right? And then we have advanced birthday greetings to Deputy Superintendent Neville Kodagan. Cody is going to observe a birthday soon. And I want to take this opportunity to express sincere birthday wishes to Cody, those who celebrated today, who celebrated recently, and who are going to celebrate in the near future. Happy birthday to you. And I think I forgot to extend condolences to the relatives and friends of those who passed those two fatal accidents. Yeah. As it, the thing, telling the woman just a shot that she was very quiet. You can't carry me to the station. No woman arrested me. And then she attempted to arrest him, and he resisted. And he was subdued and taken to the station. She was subdued, and I never forget that. I will never forget that incident. Now, let me bring in CC, and then we are going to move on. CC, good morning and welcome. Again, belated birthday wishes to you, my brother.
Good morning. Thank you for being in the land of the living to do God's work. And I want to thank all those persons who wish me well on my birthday. My wife, my children, grandchildren, friends, relatives, all those who various means text me, WhatsApp me, email me, do all kind of thing to wish me happy birthday. I had a wonderful time, although it wasn't planned. And I want to say thank you to all those persons who, in some way or the other, communicated with me. I want to shout out to Grace. She is in the 80 plus club, and we had a good conversation yesterday. She said, Paul, to tell you hello, and then also to Desiree, who came back recently to do some work. Desiree, you did some good work. Um, Although you didn't have the desired results, but continue doing what you've been doing. And then on Saturday, I was standing outside of Courts in Main Street, and up comes a minibus driver, stopped, came out of the bus, and he came straight to me and he said, "A student can't pass the teacher on the road. Where you going?" I said, "I'm not going to wait." And I said, "Okay, because the student can't pass the teacher." So I want to shout out to him. I know they had a inauguration of the president on Sunday. I did not vote for the PPP. I am not a member of the PPP, but I believe in good governance. I believe when you're in governance, you're not a PPP government. You're a government of Guyana, or you're not a up new government. You're a government of Guyana, government of the people. So I want to say something today. I want to say a little prayer for the new government. So permit me to do so. And here I go. Almighty and everlasting Father, I pray that you will inspire this new government as they go about the task of governing this country, that they will do so with clean hands, with warm hearts, with cool head, with a passion for good governance and a passion for you, God, whatever name they want to call you. Let me repeat, dear Lord. Please permit me, dear Lord, to repeat that I pray that you inspire them to perform the task of governance with clean hands, with warm hearts, with cool heads, with a passion for good governance and a passion for you, Lord, whatsoever name they may want to call you. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen and amen. And let the church say, let the class say, amen. Well said, my brother. Well, you got to pray for them. We are believers. Some of them are not. And the things that they do will reinforce the fact that they're not believers. So they do all kind of ungodly things. Even some who carry name, they call themselves bishop, they call themselves pastor, they call themselves Meiji, they call themselves pandit. They are ungodly. I am saying that. When you look at the things that they do, the things that they encourage, right? They are ungodly people. But remember, God don't sleep. And as he said, whatever name you call him by, he don't sleep. He don't sleep. He ain't get pajama. And God time is the right time, right? So many of us sit back and we say, well, maybe they're overdoing. Yeah, they're overdoing. But they're going to do as much as the good Lord allows them to do. Man does appoint. God does disappoint. Let me understand this thing clearly. God appoints, God disappoints. Right? Let me move on. Um, cricket in the air. Cricket. I've told you all already, and I'm repeating it for emphasis. I am a Guyanese. I'm a cricket fan. I am not a Warrior fan. I am a cricket fan. I'm not a Warrior fan. So when the Warrior is playing, I watch to see the game, and I comment and I compliment good cricket. So last night, Warrior take licks. All them turn out there. Big celebration. Warm take licks. Right? They take licks. And who beat them? It's St. Kitts beat them. I believe you're looking at it, they are going to qualify in the first four. Because when I look at the thing this morning, I had a look. It looked like KKR, the St. Lucians, Warrior, and I can't remember the other team, Antigua thing. They might qualify in the top four. The two struggling look like Barbados and St. Kitts or somebody. They look like they're struggling to make it. But cricket is what it is, a game of glorious uncertainties, right? So the Saturday night, they triumph over their rival, TKR. Good game, good game. But then last night they came. I believe they expected to do similar. But let me see what's going to go on. And let me tell you, the cricket fans, if you all know, the thing. The fact that you had scores in 170s on Saturday, and then you had scores yesterday, 140. They couldn't make 150. That is not a good sign because Providence wicket is known to deteriorate. And I suspect that by the time you get to a next week or so, if that type of deterioration continues, they might switch and play on the next track. But the track that they play down there, if it continues, like 130 and 140 can be hard to about force your post 130 or 140. That is what it looks like. They're moving away from CPL. I saw yesterday, I got a shock of my life. I decided to check and see what was going on with the one-day match between England and South Africa. Ulrich, I don't know if you all look at it, right? Why England made 415 for 5 in 50 overs, 415. And then down there, South Africa bowled over 72. Jeffrey Archer in the skin here, Ulrich. Jeffrey Archer in the skin. 415 for 5. Joe Root another 100, right? Another international 100. And I couldn't believe when I see 72, I look and see for how many overs and how many wickets. 72 all out, South Africa. They lost by 342 runs. That must be one of the largest victories in terms of runs in one-day cricket. Victories or loss, wherever you want to put it. 342 they lost by. But again, we say cricket is a game of glorious uncertainties. Just the other day, West Indies were 27, Test team 27 runs or something like that. That is why we like the game. That is why we love the game, right? So we get cricket. And let me remind you too, before I move on, bring in CC, and then we're going to move on. We're into Amerindian Heritage Month. I think the month started a very low key, but I guess things are going to pick up now. Amerindian Heritage Month. Now that the elections are over, we got a lot to wait and see. There's a lot of uncertainty as to what follows now. But I think we will hear something more about Amerindian Heritage Month, September month. And I want to take this opportunity again to congratulate my Amerindian brothers and sisters on their month of activities. Let me bring in CC for that, and then we're going to move on. CC, your think on the cricket and Amerindian month?
Well, I watched the cricket, and both the local one, the CPL, and the international one there. And I say a game of glorious uncertainties. And my grandson was watching with me, the CPL, and he got an invitation, I think, on Thursday at the Providence Stadium. The Warriors will be will be interacting with some youngsters, some youth, some school children, and he's one of the lucky ones. So his grandmother already bought his CPL jersey, and she had to buy one for the grandfather too, because the grandfather would carry him. But we say cricket is glorious uncertainties, and I enjoy watching them. I like you too. It's not a guy on the team, It's a mixed team. It's a mixed team, and also they had a blackout too, with the female matches. They had a blackout. I think two of the lights went down. I don't know what happened after then.
Well, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, that the light did not go out Sunday night. I guess that's because they had the upper hand. Because if they were struggling, then my Trinidadian friends will continue to tease me about lights going off and causing Trinidad to lose. TKR, not Trinidad, TKR, Trinidad and Tobago Knight Riders, to lose that game last year. I think you remember this game last year. Let me move on. Let us move on. Yeah, Dudley, lights out again. This is a public service announcement, basically. We warming up. Share the life, continue to share the life. We just passed 1300, continue to share the life. I saw something yesterday which I thought it important to share with my fellow NIS pensioners. NIS, I know a lot of pensioners, NIS pensioners. Because, you know, with the NIS, National Insurance Scheme in Guyana, you start to get your pension at 60 years. Even though the mandatory retirement age is 55, you start to get your pension at 60. So normally there's that 5-year gap, except for Malik, perhaps you can retire and get the retirement and the NIS pension at the same time. They might even keep you there for old age pension too at the same time, right? Now, it has always been a challenge to get, especially if you live abroad, when it comes to life certificate, because now they do it fairly, depending on your birth month. You have to go and present a life certificate twice a year for you to continue to get your NIS pension. And that was an improvement, because before that, I think you had to go every 3 months and that. But then they streamline it. So, for example, I know that every July and December, I have to put in my life certificate, right? Now, Kwame said, you should be getting the NIS already because he passed 60. He passed 60. Now, I saw yesterday that this is in Stabrook News. Y'all could go and read it. NIS pensioners, especially those who live abroad. NIS expands the WhatsApp Life Certificate Service. It says that the National Insurance Scheme expands the WhatsApp Life Certificate Service. I did not even know that they had a WhatsApp Life Certificate Service. So I suspect a lot of people did not know as well. So I said, let me use this platform to try to inform people about that. And here what it says. The National Insurance Scheme has announced a major expansion of its WhatsApp Life Certificate Service, a move aimed at improving accessibility and convenience for its growing pension population, both locally and abroad. In an advertisement in yesterday's Guyana Chronicle, the NIS said it has increased the number of WhatsApp contact lines from 6 to 20, giving pensioners greater access to complete their life certificates through a simple WhatsApp video call. This initiative reflects the scheme's ongoing commitment to easing the process for pensioners and ensuring timely processing of persons' payment, end of quote, the release stated. Through the service, pensioners are able to verify their identity directly with an NIS agent without the need for in-person visits, a change expected to significantly reduce wait time. The NIS is encouraging all pensioners, particularly those living overseas, to make full use of the expanded system. To complete the process, users are required to present one form of identification along with a blank life certificate during the video call. Let me repeat that part again. They said the NIS is encouraging all pensioners, particularly those living overseas, to make full use of the expanded service. To complete the process, users are required to present one form of identification along with a blank life certificate during the video call. So during the video call, you have to have a blank certificate, that is what it's saying, and you have to have a form of identification. And the numbers have increased from 6 to 20. That is, let's hope that seems to be something that will make the service more efficient. Because remember, when we talk about NIS pension, you're talking about people who are 60 years and above. And sometimes it can be very tough for people to go there and get their life certificate. I remember when I was commander, people at the, especially in Brickdam there, commander division, a lot of retired police officers will come to me to sign a life certificate, and I will do so readily. I remember on one occasion, a retired senior man, very, very senior man came, and when I learned he was there, I said, look, come in right away. I had a meeting going on. He came in. I said, look, I told him, I said, sorry, whenever you come, just come straight into me for something like this. And he said, thanks, Paul, thanks. I signed his life certificate, man. Sign his life certificate. So let me understand. Somebody saying they use it and it works. So make use of it. I did not know of it, to be honest. I did not know of it. And I suspect a lot of other pensioners did not know of it too. So when I read the article yesterday, I thought it important for me to inform. You know, we do education and we bring information to people on this platform. So I said, let me inform you guys about that. They have expanded the numbers from from 6 to 20. So chances are you're going to be easier. The probability is it's going to be easier for you to get on and to do. Remember, they're saying that when you use the WhatsApp call, they have all the numbers. You can go to Starbucks News of yesterday. All the numbers are listed. All 20 numbers are listed. And most of them are sequential from 592, 751, 604, all the way to 619, right? So it's 512, 592, 751, 604, 602, 603, 604, all the way to 619. And then the 20th number is six. You get some mistake with the 20th number there. I suspect it's 620 because it has 592, 751, 642. I believe the zero is left out. So it might be all the way to 620 from 601, 751, 601 to 751, 620. So y'all make use of a lot of people saying it's working and they have made use of it. So information to all our students who are NIS pensioners, right? Let me, CC, your take on it. I don't know if you knew of it.
Well, I didn't know about it until I read, but then I had to get a little beef with them because I didn't get my NIS for the month of August, although I took in my life certificate 2 months prior to the expiration. And then they had a query. And in the query, they said the person who signed it wasn't authorized. A senior superintendent from Brickdam signed it, put on a stamp. I took it in myself, so I know how he didn't qualify. But the thing is, they got my telephone number there. If you had a query, somebody could have picked up the phone and called me. Don't wait until I turn up there and to collect my check, and then it wasn't thing. But it's good that they making the system far easier for other persons, and I'll use it. But say I got a beef with them is that they didn't give me my stuff, although I had it, took it in 2 months before, and they had a query and just query and left it. So pick up the phone and call somebody if you get a query, and then you'll find out. And they're saying a senior superintendent wasn't qualified, wasn't qualified to sign my certificate. I don't know what's going on with them.
All right. A lot of people are commenting here that they used it and they have been using it for some time. I honestly did not know of it. So I'm glad that people have been using it, and I hope that this will inform. But let me say this before we move off this NIS issue. I have been advising police ranks as soon as you've turned 50, perhaps even before, to go and check to make sure that your contributions are in order. Again, let me repeat that. You are police, go and check and make sure that your NIS contributions are in order. People have had the experience. I had that experience. I remember when I was approaching retirement, or I was told by a colleague to go and check. I said, man, I get till 60. The man said, no, go and check to make sure that your contributions are in order. And I took the advice and I went and I checked. It's a good thing I did that. When I went, years and years of contributions were missing, years and years of contributions. So then you have to file, they will investigate. And the investigation took a long time. But by the time I was ready to get the pension at 60, things were in order. I know people who have reached the 60, but because they have not checked and they have not ensured that the contributions are in order, they take a long time. Having said that, once it is dealt with, once they reconcile, then you get all the money that you're due to get, right? So please go check. And next thing you got to tell people who have retired or who are approaching, when you retire, continue, go and find out, be advised, and continue to pay your NIS. Maybe you're going to get additional benefits. I'm not the expert in that, but I did not know that at the time, because they take your last 3 years. I think the last 3 years they use to calculate your pension. So, but if that is the last 3 years before you reach 60. So if you continue to pay and you pay at the highest rate that you can pay at, chances are that you're going to get an increased pension when the time comes. So don't just leave it at that. Go and check, seek advice, seek guidance, so that you can maximize your benefit, right? It's your contribution. Remember, you contributed all the years. When the time comes for you to benefit, make sure that you get the maximum benefit. I remember they take your money and build Bobby's Bridge. And that is one of the reasons people say that we can't get no significant increase in the pension all time. Because they take the money and they build the Bobby's Bridge, and then they're paying everybody else first, and NIS can't give back the money, and then NIS suck salt, and therefore we have to end up sucking salt. But let me move on. Let me move on. Now, I saw a video circulating on social media. I'm not going to show the video. And the reason why I'm not showing the video, because I don't want to embarrass the police rank, the police corporal. But I saw a video circulating on social media with a police corporal there. Apparently, he stopped a vehicle and he told the man, I looked at it again. He stopped the vehicle and he told him that he overtook on a solid double line in the Greenfield Access Road area there. That is why the police stopped this man and told him. And they encounter, but don't let me say encounter, because the policeman, let me start out by saying that he was very quiet, he was very polite, and there was no aggression on his part, right? But it is clear that that police corporal does not know his powers of arrest. He does not know his authority, which is sad. Corporal of police. Hey, what the man tell you? Right? The man, once he stopped the man, he told the man of the violation. The man asked him, "Are you a traffic rank?" He says no. Then the man told him, he said, the SOP states, if you are not a traffic rank, you cannot perform a traffic stop. That's what the civilian, well, I assume it's a civilian in the vehicle, whoever was in the vehicle, that the SOP says, which SOP is he talking about? And the policeman stood there, looked a little confused as far as I see. And the man sounds authoritative, you know. This man in the car speaking to this police sounds authoritative. And I got the impression, because the policeman did not know his powers of arrest, he decided to stay quiet. And then when he attempted to say something, I said, "No, let me finish." And then the man carried on. The man the man said, "Your place," because he asked if some patrol, he said, "Your place is to stop me if you saw me committing a crime or in the process of committing a crime." That's what the man telling me. He can only stop you if he saw him committing a crime or if he was in the process of committing a crime. He said, the man told him again, this is the man, "You are doing anti-crime patrol and you don't have the authority to stop me." That's the SOP. Man said, "You're doing anti-crime patrol and therefore you don't have the authority to stop me." That is the SOP. I don't know what SOP talking about. Maybe there's a new SOP, but I don't know that SOP. We're going to analyze it for the benefit of the policemen and women. We're going to analyze it, tell you what your powers are, right? Now we go the corporal, and then the corporal very sheepishly, obviously intimidated. I got the impression the corporal was intimidated. And the corporal said, "All right, carry on." Corporal told him to carry on. It is clear as crystal that the corporal was taken aback. That the corporal didn't know his powers of authority. The corporal did not know his powers under Section 16 of the 1601, the Police Act 1601, specifically Section 16 and 18 of that act. And I said sad, because when I was a young policeman, those are things you had to memorize word for word, verbatim. You have to know it. You have to know it word for word, verbatim. Your powers of arrest, Section 16 and Section 18, powers to stop, search, and detain. But that's what you have now, lack of training. And I ain't blaming necessarily the corporal. You know, the man look like one of the newly minted corporals, the one where what the president get up and he had this vision. He was looking at one of the vision corporals in July. Man stand up there. Again, I say he was very, very calm. There was no aggression on the part of the corporal, but the corporal seems a little confused. And I noted, too, can't miss these things, that he was improperly dressed. He stand up there, think no address on. Well, in me days, you couldn't do that. You couldn't go out in the public without your address. Even if you left the office and you went outside on the road, you had to put on your address. You had to be properly dressed. In his case, he had his name plate and everything. Very neat, very neat. I'm sure he looked like he altered the uniform, which used to be an offense, but he looks very neat. Let me give him that. He looks very neat. He seems very polite, but it seems that he did not know his powers of arrest. Right? He did not know his powers of arrest. And let me bring in CC to talk about it. And then, CC was the headmaster at the college there. He would have taught policemen all these things and so on. Let me hear what he has to say, and then I'm going to say something more about that. CC, your take, and I'm sure you would have seen the video.
I saw the video and he looked very confused, like he was intimidated because the person there in the vehicle spoke with a lot of authority, But the law is there to cover the police. And you mentioned section 16.1, and let me read it. So they can't say Conway say or Paslow say. It says, it shall be lawful for any member of the force to arrest without a warrant. A. Any person who commits, in his view, an offense punishable either upon indictment or upon summary conviction. Or B. Any person whom any other person charges with having committed a felony or misdemeanor. C. Any person who any other person, 1, suspects of having committed a felony or misdemeanor. Or 2, charges of having committed any offense punishable on summary conviction if such person is willing to accompany a member of the force affecting the arrest to the police station and to enter into a recognizance to prosecute such charge. Or D. Any person whom such member of the force finds disturbing the public peace. Or E. Any person whom he has good cause to suspect of having committed or being about to commit any felony, misdemeanor, or breach of the peace. Or F. Any person whom he finds between the hours of 8 o'clock in the evening and 5 o'clock in the morning, lying or loitering in a highway, yard, or other place, are not able to give a satisfactory account of himself. And Section 18, Paul, powers to stop, search, and detain aircraft, vessel, vehicle. Any member of the force may stop, search, and detain any aircraft, vessel, or vehicle in upon which there shall be reason to suspect that anything stolen or unlawfully obtained, or that any person suspected of having committed any indelible offense may be found. And he may also stop, search, and detain any person who may be reasonably suspect of having or conveying in any manner anything stolen or unlawfully obtained. And let me go to the traffic side of it now. Section 43 of the Motor Vehicle Road Traffic Act, Chapter 5102. And Section 2 says, any member of the police force, and here it's saying, any member of the police force may arrest without warrant the driver of any motor vehicle who, within his view, commits an offense contrary to the provision of this act as to reckless or dangerous driving or careless driving, unless the driver either gives his name and address or produces his license for examination. And 3, any person driving a motor vehicle on a road shall stop the vehicle on being so required by any member of the police force in uniform, and if he fails to do so, shall be liable on summary conviction to a fine not less than $7,500 and not more than $15,000. So the law is clear, and the law is talking about any member of the force in uniform. And those are the things that I used to embed in the trainees, that you got to know your general powers of arrest. You got to know your powers to stop, search, and detain. And those used to be questions coming out of the examination. And I know many times, sometimes I see a trainee going out in the road, say, where you going? Sorry, I'm going on pass, I'm going on weekend pass. I say, well, let me hear your general powers of arrest. And he can't say that. I say, well, you stay in the weekend until you learn your or until you learn your general powers. You should embed those things in them. They must know their powers of arrest. They must know their powers to stop, search, and detain. They must know, hey, not because you're in uniform section that you can't do traffic work. And I spoke about before, when I was a uniform constable at Myconi, they had given me a 9520 Hassan ticket books that when we go out on patrol, we used to write tickets. We used to prosecute people. We used to make a lot of traffic cases. We had ticket books. Perhaps Vibo Smith could tell you about them. So you don't have to be a traffic man to make cases on the road. For us, maybe that is why some of the things happening on the road, that is the general duty or the uniform people say, hey, there's traffic work, man. Me dealing with that, so they leave it to traffic. The thing talk about any member of the force. You have the authority and you're covered by law, whether traffic or otherwise. And that should be inculcated in the minds of all members of the force. Before you leave the training institution, you must know it inside out. Or we used to say, you must know it verbatim.
Yeah, and it's just sad because those are basic things that every single policeman should know. There's nothing like only traffic rank can make deal with traffic. Once you're a policeman in uniform, you see a traffic violation, you have the authority to deal with it. You have the authority to deal with it, right? If when it comes to directing or giving direction, you have to be in uniform. You have to know these things. You have to be in uniform. And if the person fails to comply, then he's in breach of the law once you're in uniform. But somehow these things are not embedded. And this thing goes back some years ago. I see people commenting on it. I remember very well when Silal Prasad was Commissioner of Police and Clement Roy was Minister of Home Affairs. As far as I remember, they're the ones who started this thing by telling ranks, if you're not a traffic rank, don't make traffic stops. And they were addressing the ranks who were on motorcycle patrols, and it was alleged that they used to hustle and stop people making traffic stop to shake them down. And I said this: if you want to address the shaking down of the of motorists, the way to deal with it is not to tell policemen that they can't make stops. For the time you held that Bible, the Quran, or the Gita, and you swore, you have the full powers of a policeman. And no commissioner and no minister can take that away from you just like that. You don't want to take it away, they have to get you out of the job. But once you are in the force, once you're a policeman, you have that authority. If you are abusing authority, then the system, 1701, the disciplinary system, should kick in and deal with person for abusing. But you can't tell a policeman that, look, you must not stop vehicles on the road and you must not do it. It can do it too. It did it when they come to the traffic. Remember, some time ago, he tell them that roadblock must get this and you can't get cakey, close people, and all sort of nonsense. That is why I believe a lot of the ranks are confused. A lot of the ranks are confused because some may know that they have the authority, but when the commissioner makes such a foolish statement, they feel intimidated because if they do anything, and they're gonna get trouble. They're gonna get charged departmentally, they're gonna get transferred, they might even get dismissed, right? So therefore, people decide, well, the least line of resistance, stand up. But it is wrong. You can't want a professional police force and then you are arbitrarily and unlawfully telling people not to stop vehicle. The law is clear. And let me only last year, and this is a repeat, last year, July, during some activity they had there relating to traffic, attorney at law Chevy Devonish used to be at the Attorney General's chamber. He made a presentation. I'm going to read what is reported in the papers with him. This is in I think it's Kaicho News of July the 20th, 2024, right? Attorney at law and university lecturer Chevy Devonish, LLB, BSc, right? Traffic ranks of the Guyana Police Force are being urged to familiarize themselves with the laws of Guyana, preferably Section 18 of the Police Act. This is what Mr. Conway just read to you, 18. Attorney Chevy Devonish, who is also a lecturer at the University of Guyana, underscored the importance of the police understanding that they must have reasonable suspicion before stopping a vehicle. You have to have reasonable suspicion before stopping a vehicle. Devin Bishop was at the time speaking during a panel discussion held in celebration of the Ghana Police Force's 185th anniversary, held at the police officers' mess annex Evelyn, Georgetown. The theme of that was strategy for identifying and combating traffic incidents and accidents, inclusive of punitive laws as a deterrent. The discussion included National Information and Communication Technology Advisor Daryl Akiang, Vice Chancellor of the University of the Guyana, Dr. Paloma Mohammed, Senior Superintendent of Police Mahendra Singh, and Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, Earl Lambert. Devonish said, oftentimes the police is not properly aware of how to properly execute his or her mandate. Unfortunately, quote, unfortunately, we have had the experience and circumstances where we lost case, particularly because persons, ranks, who are in the position to enforce the law did not know the law and therefore exercising powers they did not have. End of quote, the attorney said. Devonish recounted an experience with police ranks that had stopped him during an operation without indicating the reason. Quote, I want to say first and foremost, there is no traffic rank who should be on the road engaging in stop, search, seizure of any vehicle if they have not at least seen Section 18 of the Police Act, end of quote, attorney said. Devonish explained that Section 18 of the Police Act states that any member of the force may stop, search, and detain any aircraft, vessel, or vehicle, which there shall be reason to suspect anything stolen, unlawfully obtained, or that any person suspected of having committed an indictable offense may be found. Further, a member of the force may also stop, search, and detain any person who may be reasonably suspected of having or conveying in any manner anything stolen or unlawfully obtained. Definitely said that on one occasion he was stopped by police. He asked the officer about the operation, to which the rank reportedly said, quote, I is the police, don't question the police, end of quote. The attorney said that while the law allows for the stopping and searching of vehicles, aircraft, and vessels, it is mandatory for the ranks to state the reasons for of suspicion. Let me read it back. The attorney said that while the law allows for the stopping and searching of vehicles, aircraft, and vessels, it is mandatory for the ranks to state the reason or reasons of suspicion, right? Then Devonish hypothetically said, quote, if I'm driving down the road with a black vehicle and you have what is referred to as an operation going on, you know, random stops and search, and you know a police officer stops me and asks me to search my vehicle because I just an event that they're having, I think a campaign, they just want to search my vehicle. What is the basis of the search? Is there a basis? Is there a suspicion? Is there anywhere? No, if there's not. Then he reminded that if ranks fail to provide reason for the search or the basis of the suspicion, should the case be taken to court, the case is likely to be dismissed. What happens? The person is arrested, court here now again. What happens? The person is arrested and they are charged and they go to the magistrate court and the matter is dismissed. Why it is dismissed? Because you, the rank, had no lawful authority to stop the person, which means that you had no lawful authority to arrest the person, which means you had no lawful authority to detain the person, Devonish said. This usually results in the police force being sued. Quote, they sue us, the police, for unlawful arrest. They sue us for unlawful detention. They sue us for malicious prosecution. They sue us for a violation of their fundamental rights. And they get a nice 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, Devonish said. The attorney said that over time, the police have grown accustomed to telling persons to drive to the police station. Quote, you can arrest with words alone. Drive to the station, stay in the corner, and while you're in the corner, you, the police, gone back on the road, and you stop other vehicles, and the man is there for 15 to 20 minutes. That is detention. And what happens? The matter goes to court, and we, the police, get lawsuit, or the person doesn't listen, and you charge them with resisting arrest, disorderly behavior, but they all fail, or obstructing a police officer in the lawful execution of his duties. But it was not lawful because you, the police, did not have reasonable suspicion. That is the condition Devonish explained. A long read, but I think you understand the gist of it. Let me bring in CC. To just, he spoke about it. Let me bring in somebody. Tell me they got some trolleys. Let me look for.
Yeah, the thing is, you must have reasonable suspicion. In America, I think they call it probable cause. But we'll talk about reasonable suspicion. And then there was a famous case with the late Justice Ramlal. We made uh, a ruling. I think they should look at it and and pick it up. Justice Ramlal, and I think he had awarded costs to, I think, Justice Singh, who's a High Court judge, where police unlawfully detain him, unlawfully stop him. So you got to work in accordance with the law. And we say, look at Section 18, talk about powers to stop, search, and no, Section 18, which talk about your general powers of arrest, and Section 18 talks about power to stop, search, and detain. And the thing has got to be a reasonable suspicion. And also they say the reasonable suspicion must precede the search, must come before the arrest or the search. That you got to get a reasonable suspicion. And those are the key words: reasonable suspicion.
Right, you're so correct. And you reference Justice Ramlal's ruling. We're gonna go into it the next day. I don't want to. We done into our yeah. We get a lot of stuff to discuss. But I think it's important for the ranks to understand the powers and members of the public to understand too. Because the matter that you referenced a while ago with Justice Ramlal, I have it here. I have it here. But we're gonna deal with it maybe on the next program, because that is something. The statement by Attorney Chevy Devonish and the ruling by Justice Ramlal in the case of the case was Attorney at Law Navendra Singh versus two police constables, two police ranks, and the Attorney General, the same Navendra Singh who is now the acting Chief Justice. There's a case, we're going to go into it. We spoke about it before. Those things should be mandatory as part of the training. Mandatory. And again, as I've said, student Wednesday, I time permitting, God's spare life, we're gonna go into it. It's in, and you can go in the meanwhile and check Stabrook News. High Court deems stop and search and abuse of power and awards $2 million plus interest. That is on December the 8th, 2013, Kaicho News. That is Justice William Ramlal, the late Justice William Ramlal, in the case of the now acting Chief Justice. Yeah, I must read it. And one would have thought that the police would have used these cases to train the police to know when they can stop, when they can search, but they're not doing that. They're not doing that. Or if they're doing that, the message is not getting through to the ranks, and no action, no corrective action is taken. That is the problem. That is the problem. Right? That is the problem. Because you have had these rulings, you have had these teachings, you have had these explanations like by Mr. Chevney, Mr. Devonish and all these people, and yet still people coming out, yet still the commissioner, and they are telling people random search and random roadblock, random search is unlawful and unconstitutional. The law is clear. You have to have reasonable suspicion before you can stop a vehicle. You can't just pull in a man, pull over, police. Without any, yeah, you can do it, but you have to have reasonable suspicion, and the suspicion has to exist before the stop. Before the stop. We explained that too in terms of the same breathalyzer test. You have to have reasonable suspicion. You can't just pull over and randomly tell him blow the what it is unlawful. Policemen should be trained and they have to understand that. As I said, back in the day with this nonsense about don't stop, I remember Silal Prasad was commissioner. There, you go to the research, you could find it. Rohi was over first minister, telling people, policemen, they must stop. That's the order. Stop vehicles and so on. These were the things where they patrol people because allegations were made against them. That is the problem you have. And a lot of policemen who are not sure because they're not properly trained, and even when they are properly trained, because the system is so weaponized and so corrupt, when they execute the duty, somebody pick up a phone and call somebody, and then they get in trouble. Yeah, I remember Ryan F. in Crawford. That's the same reason why the policeman on the East Coast pull over attorney, asked him, I said, I am Ryan F. in Crawford. And, he tell you what the F in is, right? Because he had no authority to stop. And the lawyer decided to let go, to fire off the shots, right? I am Ryan F. in Crawford. Then he asked his name. And then he asked you what the reason you stopped. You couldn't tell. You have to have a reasonable suspicion, right? Police ranks, let me understand it. Let me move on. Again, we're making the point that it seems that females are in serious trouble in this country. Call Guyana. Only over the weekend, I've been reading where two female cashiers from the Balwan Singh Hospital walking in East Street, going to get lunch. Somebody passed and threw acid on them. Two female walking in the hospital. They're going to get lunch in East Street, a busy place like East Street. Some car pull up. There's somebody throw acid. One, the woman born up badly. She face born up badly. And the thing is sad. Which brings us to the point. Remember when we had the Adriana Young case on the East Coast? Two children got burned. And they jump and they play politics with it. So how the people who were doing the demonstration, it turned out that was not so. And they're quiet since then. President Ronnie sent for them. They come and they make big noise. They were blaming the protesters. And when they get evidence that it was not the protesters, it seemed to have been some domestic issue, right? They stay quiet. There is a dishonesty in these people. They're quick to play it up. Oh, part of the protest. They throw acid and they burn two children, two school children. When the evidence surfaced that it was not so, they stay quiet. They didn't get the decency to say, well, we were wrong, and that is not it. That's what you have. That is what you have in Guyana. That is what we have in Guyana. And then, again, over the weekend, this, what the lady they call Lola Dahl, you see what happened to she there? Lola Dahl, that chose us, somebody shoot. And let me, do I have the, I don't think, let me try to get the release, man, because I see some stupidness the police does put out again, police put out. But before I go, let me bring in Mr. Conway to talk about this acid throwing incident. And then I'm going to try to find this thing with the release that the police give with Lola Dahl. CC?
Yeah, I read it, and it's mind-boggling. Two women peacefully walking down East Street, and the perpetrator is there to throw acid on them. And understand, one of them went into a business place, and I think they chase her out and lock the door. I think one was rescued by some Chinese there. Violence against women. And I hear in this one we're going to talk more about Lola Dahl. I wonder what kind of investigation the police doing. What happened to all the cameras they said I got? That will replace boots on the ground. That you no longer have to have boots on the ground. The cameras, safe city, the cameras and picking up anything. A place like Balwan Singh Hospital, you don't picking up anything. You don't picking up a vehicle number. You could only pick up a vehicle that is a vehicle number and color that they say Adriana went in and it was heading to Villeneuve. You only could pick up that. What happened to your command center? What has happened to the cameras? The cameras now work. Huh? Something is wrong somewhere. What did the president say? That the cameras will replace boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. So what's going on? The cameras and working? Or we ain't getting boots in the ground. We ain't here about patrol. We here about foot patrol. You can't stop foot patrol. Anyway, more about that later on.
Yeah, foot patrols are an indispensable tool of proactive policing. Foot patrols are an indispensable tool of proactive policing. And we talk about patrol, we ain't talking about just walking around, you know. We're talking about proper patrol. You can't substitute that. Vehicles are good. You can't replace foot patrol for effectiveness with vehicle patrol. Especially when these vehicles that you see around the place in Guyana, they don't know to drive at patrol speed. Because patrol, when you're patrolling, you have what you call patrol speed. You drive at patrol speed. They just drive. They just drive. So they just fly past, they can't see things. They would not be able to see things. And here with the Lola dial thing, somebody saying, so I don't give them rule thing until it's confirmed. Now, here what the police said. Lola Dahl was shot multiple times. Multiple times. And the police issued a release. Here what they said. Police investigating shooting incident involving Lola Dahl. Right? The Ghana Police Force is investigating an alleged incident of discharging a loaded firearm committed on 33-year-old Lolita Kalinda, also known as Lola Dahl, of Texas Square, East Renville. The incident occurred about 35 hours in front of a resident at Texas Square. I don't understand these releases, you know. This woman, according to them, let me go on to say she's presently receiving medical attention at the Yartown Public Hospital, where she remains in critical condition, having sustained gunshot wounds to her neck, face, hands, and leg. Preliminary information indicates that the victim was seated in a motor car when she was shot by a male on a motorcycle. Police ranks are actively pursuing the suspect, and CCTV footage from the area. Now, how are you going to actively pursue a suspect if you don't know who the suspect is? At the time, they're just giving this bullshit releases. Now, how, having regards to the fact that you're saying this person was shot multiple times, how is that classified as an alleged incident of discharging loaded firearm? Tell me that. Mark Ramatar, tell me that. Multiple shots. This woman, you say, sitting in a car, and some motorcyclists, you said, turn up, and they shot her multiple times. Multiple times, and she's critical according to your release. Your release says she's in a critical conditions, having sustained gunshot wounds to her neck, face, hands, and right leg. But you're classifying it as an alleged incident of discharging a loaded firearm. An alleged incident. First of all, you don't know the meaning of the word alleged. It's an incident. There's no damn alleged incident. It's an attempt murder. That is a classification. It's an attempt murder. This thing should have been attempt murder committed on this person. But then you say alleged incident of discharging a loaded firearm. What bullshit is that? What nonsenseness is that? And again, I'll continue to point it out, you know. I don't care. I'm going to continue to point it out to show the unprofessionalism of these people, the incompetence of these people. How in heaven's name, given what you said in the body of the report, you can classify that as a alleged incident of discharging loaded firearm? You haven't got to school or what, man? And I understand the paid Mark Ramatar, the head of the corporate propaganda unit, big bucks to write this shit. But even if he did not write it, it is his unit. And there ought to be a system of checks. I've said it repeatedly. It is clear that the people who are writing these things and know what's going on, and they have no way, nobody check, nobody and vetting these things, just put it in the public domain. You put it in the public domain, and it's a release, it's an official release on the police to call this thing alleged incident of discharging a loaded firearm when a person is critical in the hospital as a result of gunshot wounds that were discharged. So to them, there is not attempt murder. There is not attempt murder. Oh, this thing is very upsetting. Very, very upsetting. And then I noted too That and again to show how, again, I don't know what's really going on, because yesterday they issued a wanted bulletin, and they issue a wanted bulletin now for Paul Davy Jr. called Randell for the same incident, And here now is an attempt murder, is an attempted murder. So it moved from discharging a loaded firearm to attempt murder. That is what they have. But I ain't gonna knock them for not knowing to spell the GAR. But I know them things you can't spell. You pull up a telephone directory or you pull up somewhere. Make sure, again, this is an official police release. Like Lewis would have killed these people, CC. First of all, that mistakes like that would have never have been made. You talking about discharging loaded firearm when you're gonna report that a person is critical in hospital as a result of the gunshots? Discharging loaded firearm? That is the level of professionalism that you all have. Man, look, CC, let me hear you on this one. Let me hear you on this.
First, let me take up with the Larry Lewis. I said before in the last episode, a man used some green verbs, and he couldn't get the crime chief work. I remember he said the pleasure is mine, and I remember he said that he's a fatherless child, and how kind of nonsense when he jail the person. But coming back to this shooting, I agree. Is attempt murder a full stop? But then they say nothing. Did they so much shots fired? Did they find any spent shell? Did they find a fragment and link it this fragment that the gun that was used on some other occasion was used here now, Did they spend any spent shell? Yeah? They didn't do any meticulous investigation. Well, they treated as discharge a load of firearms, so they must treat it with as a attempt murder, so that they do diligent, teach it with the seriousness of it. Wasn't there any spent shell? Wasn't there a fragment? Remember the other shooting and where they find a fragment, a piece of the bullet, and they say, hey, this bullet was fired by the gun used by a security man. Are they doing any real kind of forensic investigation? Yeah? I don't know, they just wishy-washy. Here is it, a woman got shot several times, and nobody is whether they find any spent shells or not. Excuse me. And then again, too, what happened with the cameras? What happened to the cameras that replaced boots on the ground? Huh? I don't know what kind of investigation they're doing, Paul. I don't know.
Well, whether that's if they're doing any investigation at all. That's if they're doing any proper investigation. I don't understand whether they're doing any proper investigation. And look, you said there was a program some time ago, I think it was Rob India, that I'm not sure. What's in the name? What's in the name? When I saw that wanted bulletin and the offense of attempt murder, my memory went back to a few years ago when a person by that same name, a female by that same name, was charged with attempting to murder a police rank somewhere by Thomasland, Cosmos area. Attempt, pull a gun, squeeze the trigger, discharge it, well, not discharge, squeeze the trigger. In an attempt to discharge, the thing stop, snap. Charged with attempted murder, right? Charged with attempted murder. Yeah, Danny, I saw the video too with the shooting when the man walk up and shot. Yeah, attempted murder. And what happened to that case? Yeah, I got shallow memory, What happened to that case? The police caused the case to go overboard. The matter was dismissed. A policeman was jailed for perverting the course of justice in that same case. A police rank went into the witness box and gave evidence that the officer in charge of crime, they told him to change his statement to favor the accused person. That is evidence. Let me tell you all this. It might shock you, it might not shock you. In that very case, the now Deputy Commissioner Watts, Tribal Union, gave evidence in that case. And when he gave evidence in relation to the serial number of the firearm, he either deliberately or otherwise omitted the letters, or something was omitted. And when the lawyer, the defense counsel, started to put him under pressure in respect to that, he became hostile in the witness box. He tell them that, I remember paraphrasing it, as human being, I can make mistake. I just got for there guarding you when you're sleeping. All sort of nonsense he talked in the witness box. I remember that incident very well. So it's the same name again, same attempt murder. Well, of course, this time it's not charged. This is a wanted bulletin. Let me see where this will go. Because as I said, money talks and bullshit walks. Let's see where it will go. Right? Let me see where it will go. So the president talking yesterday about corruption and all that. I think we come into that. Share the life, we come into that. But let me see where it will go. I am not going to hold my breath, because first thing somebody asked me this morning, if it is okay, if it is a protocol to issue a wanted bulletin. I said, well, yes, you can issue a wanted bulletin, but you ought to have made efforts to contact or arrest the person first. But that gone through the window now. Police don't attempt to arrest. They get information that a person might be involved in a crime, especially if certain type of people. Is no attempt to arrest. Is no attempt to find, locate. Wanted bulletin. Wanted bulletin. Even people who many times they are in contact with. I remember the case with the people, I think the couple with other matter with Soku and the wanted bulletin. People say, but only recently people talking to me because they were supposed to give evidence in a case. They know where we are. They have our contact number and that sort of thing. But wanted bulletin. That is what is going on. So no one makes any attempt to, and I'm sure enough of them getting telephone number of the person who they say is wanted. But that is what happens. That is what happens in this place where they call the Guyana Police Force, place that they call Guyana. That is what happens. You all remember, let me make the links, Let me make the links. You all remember not so long ago, there was a shooting incident somewhere by Bishop Edghill, the Bishop residence, when it was revealed that some teenagers were having a party, and one of the female teenagers went out. She was talking to someone in the car, presumably some young guy, and they said when he drove off, he discharged, I think they said 17 rounds, 17 bullets he discharged from a black Mercedes. They say he discharged from a black Mercedes. And the rumors were around. Not only rumors, evidence as to who that car was connected to. You ever hear anything more about it? As to whether they issued some release or something. You ever hear anything more? Yeah, I have not heard anything more about it. I have not heard anything more about it. So this thing where they come, this BS where they come and tell you about wanted bulletin and all them type of thing is just BS. That is just what it is. It's just BS. And that is the level of unprofessionalism in the police force. I wonder if CID investigating this. Because Blanham, CID, Blanham, the crime chief, deputy commissioner, the CID now is very selective in the matters they investigate. Very, very selective. So I want to know if this attempt murder of Lola Dahl is being investigated by CID. If it's CID, is it a division or region 4 CID? Is it the major crime unit? Who investigating? I would wish that the journalists would ask all this type of question. Who investigating this matter? Who? So that is what you have. The Guyana political force. Sad commentary. Bullshit release about discharging loaded firearm. Attempt. And they don't know the meaning of the word attempt. Huh? And nobody can tell them what attempt mean. Can't tell them what attempt mean. It's really sad because we're talking about these things. And I got a suspicion right now. They are doing, well, if they know better, they are doing this thing in defiance for several of them show up slow and canny. Not at all. Not we. you're making yourself look more stupid. It's not Slow and Conway you are putting under pressure, so to speak, right? Is you clear attempt murder, Aubrey, clear attempt murder, and the time he was discharging loaded firearm. A lot of nonsense. A lot of nonsense. Yeah, but if CC want to say anything more about this, CC, do you want to say anything about this issue?
Yeah, you're gonna hear OPR investigating. Just like when the shooting where they killed by Fudgy Day at Linden, and they say OPR investigating, and I think that they bring your ass to investigate, and the crime chief said that they weren't investigate. They have nothing to do with the investigation, although it calls for ballistics. Where the ballistics man has got to check and all kind of thing. They say the CID wasn't investigating. So I want to believe it follow the same pattern. That after this one, the OPR might be the lead person who are investigating. And we hear nothing but no spent shell. Who said the wrongs discharge? No spent shell, nothing, no ballistics being done, So there's our thing there. When I doubt whether we might hear anything more about that, and more so about the person who they put up the wanted bulletin for. You're gonna hear, they're done with it.
Because remember, the person the wanted bulletin was put for. I believe he was one of the persons recently sanctioned by the U.S. I think they said for drug trafficking. I think he's one of the persons sanctioned. Tell me if I'm wrong. He's one of the persons sanctioned, and one of the persons sanctioned with D2 had wanted bulletin for him. You're not hearing anything more. Wanted bulletin, and then that's it. Depending on who the person is, wanted bulletin. But if you're Takumo or Quincy, or you put wanted bulletin, they're coming for you. They're coming for you, right? So that is what you have. And I say this before I move on to the next issue. If the CID is not investigating why is shooting and killing and murder, what is the purpose of the CID? What is the purpose of the CID? Perhaps that question can be asked. Now, let me move on. I saw a post by attorney at law, Dr. Dexter Studd, which is very, very troubling. You know, Dr. Studd, brilliant liar. No, Jack Dose, brilliant young liar. Used to be a policeman. I knew him when he was a police. He was a candidate on the UPNEW slate. He posted, I think it was yesterday, he says, here, let me read the post. I will remain a voice of and for people. I will continue to educate our people about our fundamental rights and freedom under the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. So let me tell the PPP this, the PPPC this. I am aware of your instructions to the Guyana Police Force to come after me and to institute false cybercrime charges to silence me. I'm aware of this political move which you will use to drive fear into our other party candidates. But rest assured, fire will be met with fire. I saw that and I say I got a thing. Fire will be met with fire. Dexter Todd is saying that he's aware that the police have been given instructions to institute charges, false cybercrime charges against him to silence him. Right? And he said he's aware that this is a political move which you will use to drive fear into our other party candidates. That is what is being alleged. And I know Dexter ain't going to make a statement like that unless he has some basis, some proper basis. Call and say, he think he's trying to seek attention. When I received word a few years back, well, around 2020, 2021, that they're going and trying to get people to silence me, and I made it public. Nonetheless, the Attorney General said, Slow trying to seek attention. That was his response to it, that I was trying to seek attention. So maybe they're going to come and say, Dexter Todd trying to get attention as well. But when I saw that thing, I said, we are in some very troublesome times. We are in troublesome time. Now, I'm sure CC might want to say something about that. Let me bring him in. CC?
I'm not surprised, that they would try bring false cyberculture. And also I heard that my friend Dr. Paul Williams is on the list. There are certain people named on the list. Dr. Paul Williams is also on the list. But then I said before that when the PPP is in government, certain things you must expect. You gotta expect corruption. You gotta expect fire, and Todd used the word fire. You gotta expect drugs. And you gotta expect debt. It already started with this new government. I say corruption, fire, drugs, and debt. You gotta expect them things to happen. And it already started.
Well, you said new government, but we get a new government yet. What we have is a president who was sworn in yesterday. Big thing for including the flying over of American warplanes, low flying over Georgetown. I know it's part of the celebration. He's just sending a message. He's just sending a message because to segue into the other issue, I think I told you all before we should continue to monitor what is going on in the Southern Caribbean Sea, where the U.S. has a large gathering of war vessels, warships, and so on. And recently, over the past 2 days, I read where they have decided to send, I make a note, jet fighters, 10 F-35 stealth fighters. 10 F-35 stealth fighters have been deployed to the Caribbean. I think they're going to be based in Puerto Rico. And it is said that this build-up is to intercept drug smugglers out of Venezuela. Well, some people say it seems disproportionate. That's what some people are saying. But we got to be aware of that because only over the weekend I was reading too, where, last week, let me tell you, last week, a vessel was, I think they said some drone destroy, American drone destroy a vessel that the American president said it was carrying terrorists, drug terrorists and so on. 11 people were said to be killed. And from following the news in Trinidad, apparently they're saying now that a lot of the fishermen in Trinidad are afraid to go out into the sea. I guess they feel that they're afraid because they don't want to be mistaken for terrorists. So they're not going out. And then I think yesterday or sometime they found the body washed up, and they suspect that body might have been one of the 11 persons who were killed when the drone struck that vessel. So you gotta be careful. Not careful. You gotta watch what is going on. You gotta know what is going on in the Caribbean because while geographically we're not part of the Caribbean, our culture is linked to the Caribbean. Our culture, and I said before that if the U.S. squeeze the drug traffickers, which they should do, I have no qualms about that, and they can't use the sea to get this stuff. Watch out with the porous land borders in Guyana, where, people just walk over through Borima Winey, the drug capital of Guyana, right? Region 1, the drug capital. That is where the 4.4 tons of cocaine, they found submersible cocaine vessel. Region 1 all the time. The former police commander of Region 1, Imnat Shah, is sanctioned by the U.S. for drug trafficking. So let's keep our ears to the ground. Let's keep our eyes open, right? Keep our ears to the ground and keep our eyes open. Now let me move on. I want to deal with a few things as it relates to the election. Yeah, just conclude the election. One of the first things I want to point out, people are saying, look, if you follow social media, even here you see some of them come, the racial triumphalism is clear. They're calling black people all sorts of names. Only Friday, one come here, call me dog, they just call you all sorts of things. Now we are more hungry, really black man. And also one, we have to delete one here just a while ago, and that is what is going on. That is what is to be expected. And they talk about unity. They talk about one Guyana. But then you can see where is the ERC? I see people posting something where some Indian woman is alleged to have made all type of racially incendiary statements And the ERC, they take holiday. I guess the man in charge of the ERC had to take some time out to prepare the prayer for yesterday's inauguration. So you're not hearing anything about them. Not hearing anything. But when Baby Scalo did what he did, remand, the move remand, that is what you have in this place called Guyana. That is what you have. Right? And let me move on. Yesterday, and this is just gonna be a start, because the president's speech yesterday and all that's gonna happen can take some time to analyze, right? But I want to deal with certain things. We got to talk about the observer's observation. We got to talk about what is rigging, how it is. We have a lot to talk about. But what I want to say now, right? Because I don't want time to make it not important, right? The results were declared. I think it was Saturday night. They say that PVP got 36 seats. First of all, I said PVP won the election. They got 36 seats. The Win Party, We Invest in Nationhood, Azruddin Mohammed's party, recently formed. They get 16 seats. APNU got 12 seats. And they said Forward FGM, Forward Ghana Movement, got 1 seat. That is what they said. That is what the thing that mystified me is from a point of panic where they wanted recount in regions 5 and 6. From a point of panic, people get 36 seats. And you know what I said? I believe that magic man was confined to Eve Leary to change cocaine into flour. You know the story, police headquarters, Eve Leary, where cocaine turned to flour? I said, well, the magic man was confined to Eve Leary. But it appears though the magic man's mandate was wider than that. Wider mandate. So PVP 36 seats, Win 16, APNU 12, and Forward Ghana Movement, that is the party that formed by Amanza Waljon, Pastor London, I think Darwin Best, they got 1 seat. Now, we are in for some troubling times. That is what I am seeing. This is a configuration never seen before, because in the past, you had one party as the government party, and you had the main opposition, right? Now, you get a situation where 3 parties, the government get 36, Win gets 16, APNU get 12. The question to be asked, and somebody talked about yesterday, what happens now when we go forward? The first thing you got to look to see who will be the persons going to parliament. First thing. And even before that, we have to see who will be the new cabinet. And let me say it again for emphasis. I am looking keenly to see not who go in, but more specifically who get left out. Because the rumor is that there's a list of persons to be sanctioned. And the list included and sanctioned by the Americans. And the list includes persons who were in the previous cabinet. And I have a strong suspicion that they know. Either they suspect or they may have been told. So when you see, whenever the cabinet is announced, you see some people are no longer there. Watch out. Watch out. They might be targeted. They might be targeted. And when you look to see who are the people going to parliament, that too might give you an indication of what to come. That too might give you an indication of what to come. So look to see the composition of the parliament and the cabinet. Look to see the composition of the cabinet. Look to see the composition of parliament. In respect to cabinet, look to see who's going to get dropped off. Because you know they don't signal clearly that there's going to be a change. All the persons will not go back. Jack Dio discussed this some time ago, and I understand that the president might have intimated that again. So let me watch to see what can happen in that regard. Let us look to see what will happen in that regard. The next thing, before I bring in CC, the PVP, when they started out at some stage or something after during the campaign, they claimed clearly that they wanted a 2/3. They were going for a 2/3 majority. Remember that? There's not slow saying that. That is what the PPP said. Then the 2/3 became a situation where they want a landslide, or the landslide forced them 2/3. And then they said that they were hoping not to be a minority government. Well, they're not a minority government. They didn't get the 2/3, right? But why would a party want 2/3 students? Why would a party want 2/3? The only advantage that you have, as to get 2/3, is because with 2/3, which they call a supermajority, you can then change the constitution. Let me repeat that. With a 2/3, they call it a supermajority, you can change the constitution. And if PPP got 36 and Win got 16, hey, trouble in the dance. Let's assume that 7 or 8 of those Win persons decide to vote with the PPP. We in for more than what we bargained for. 0-0 not on them. They can't see so far. They're celebrating. He might get the charges drop and so on. That's fine. This PPP, this PPC has shown a dislike for certain aspects of the Constitution. Clearly, dislike. Remember, when they introduced term limits, meaning that a person can only run for president for 2 terms, term limits. It was introduced. It had to have the agreement of both political parties. There were 2 major political parties at the time, PPP and PNC. They agreed, or I'm not sure if it was a coalition then, but they agreed, and they had the constitutional amendment. But Jack Deal was the president. When the time came, and Jack Deal's second term was about to finish, they challenged that, even though they had agreed and had the constitutional amendment. They challenged it to say that basically what they meant, they inserted the word consecutive to say that no one should serve 2 consecutive terms. The matter went to the High Court in Guyana, and Chan ruled in their favor, said it meant 2 consecutive. That matter went to the appeal to the CCJ, and CCJ ruled that no, don't bring in this 2 consecutive thing. 2 terms and that's it. So that's how Jack Deal had to get out of office, 2 terms. That is one of the provisions I believe they have not been comfortable with. And I believe that you might very well have a situation now where they can buy some of the people them and get a 2/3 to change that back now for say we mean you can't serve more than 2 consecutive, or take it out altogether. Take out term limits altogether. What's the ride? We are in for a serious thing. Another thing, you know that they're uncomfortable with the provision where the opposition leader has to agree for the appointment of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice. Right? Remember? And there's a constitutional provision. The opposition, in many of the provisions, they don't need agreement. They don't need just consultation. They say meaningful consultation, and they move on. In the case of the appointment of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice, they have to have the agreement from the opposition leader. We have seen the gridlock with that. We have seen. So all the years they can't agree to appoint a chancellor, even the observers in this last election, I understand, commented on that. We can now go to the parliament. We can buy some people because we get money, we just buy. If we get money, get bargain. We can buy, and we can have all of those, what we term, quote unquote, uncomfortable articles or uncomfortable provisions change. Y'all watch out. Watch out. President has shown an inclination, a disposition to violating the Constitution. I know that. I challenge you and won. Now, if you can put together a 2/3 majority, you can change it. You don't have to violate nothing. You don't have to violate. You can change it. Because, again, I say, the Win party is an unknown entity. So we have to watch to see who going to parliament. We have to look to see who will go to parliament, right? So let me understand this thing clearly. There's a lot of implication for how this thing is configured now. And I hope I'm no political analyst, I'm no political scientist, but I hope the people who are skilled in that area will look at all of these things. Look, so I'm alerting them. I don't think anyone has mentioned that before. They're talking about the rigging, which they need to do, and they're talking about other things. But I'm looking forward. I am looking forward because once Parliament convenes, I think it will be what, the 13th Parliament, whatever it is, look to see who will be the speaker. We had a speaker there who was at the bottom, the nadir, right at the bottom. We saw what happened there. Who will be the deputy speaker? You have to look at this thing because in the past, prior to 2020, the deputy speaker position always went to the main opposition. But no, they changed him. They put Schumann. And then when Schumann period finished, they were to have some joiner arrangement. Y'all forgetting these things, you know. Y'all forgetting these things. They were to have a joiner arrangement. So Schumann served a period, and then Asha Kisun served the second period, and then she was to demit office for the third period to be served by someone. She refused to move. She refused to move. So a joiner party got the deputy speaker's position, and of course voted with the ruling party all the time. And then when the campaign started, she put herself properly on the list. So all of these things you have to watch. Arrogance, you're talking about arrogance, is no. Because when we get them type of power now, we get money, we get political power, and then we can control parliament for every two-thirds. Watch the ride. Let me bring in Mr. Conway. And then we have many more things to discuss with this recent election thing. We have a lot more to discuss. But let me bring in Mr. Conway for him to have his say. I want to monopolize the button. CC, let me hear you.
All right. Glad you gave me a piece of the button. What I Forgive me if I play some of the strokes that you played there. Now let's face facts. Let's face reality. Allegations are that some of them who will be going into parliament were bought. They were bought. And we say in Guyanese term, dog accustomed to suck eggs. Don't suck. Continue to suck. Don't mind what you do. And they got money. They got oil money. They get gold money. They get all kind of money. And don't be surprised if some couple charandas go in parliament with this new set of people. If some charandas go into parliament. You mentioned about two-thirds. I agree. They're looking for two-thirds. They want two-thirds because the president get a proclivity of breaching the constitution. He breached it when he suspended us. You took him to court on our behalf and you won. And many other instances, he appointed Ikin illegally and he got the tendency to breach the constitution. Therefore, the two-thirds, those persons who were bought and money circulating, they're going to buy them in parliament and get it two-thirds so that they could say, hey, you mentioned it, Paul, Chief Justice and Chancellor, you don't have to get agreement. A mandate that the president going to appoint them whether they like it or not. You're going to appoint them. The same lady who you electing, the Honorable Chancellor, the same Honorable Chancellor that he acting, he can't conform. Is she have to swear him? And don't be surprised, if they change the name of Guyana. They said there was a Bonham thing, the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and if they change it to the Islamic Republic of Guyana, the two-thirds and the Charandas that don't go into parliament, watch out. Watch out for changes in the constitution. Watch out. Things are likely to happen because the president doesn't want to do as he like, and he's get the tendency, the proclivity to breach the constitution at will. And money about flowing like water, oil money, gold money, other money there, and all sort of things are likely to play out in parliament because of the money and the love of money. The Bible say the love of the money is the root of all evil.
Yeah, my brother. Yeah, you know, and then you don't have to breach the constitution, because if you have the 2/3, you just change it and put it where you like. So once it's there now, it's part of the constitution. You aren't breaching it no more. You're not breaching it anymore. You just do what the constitution says. You change it to your likeness, right? And you know, somebody commented with Bonham Constitution, the 1980 Constitution referred to as the Bonham Constitution. They had nothing like term limits. You could have been the president forever and ever, and then they didn't like that. So they put in term limits. And then when they find that the term limits likely to operate against them, they then, as I said before, they agree to term limits, and then they try to remove it. They try to, it's a CCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice, said no. And then 4th or 5th term, it's just that he get the title as president, but you running the show. A man who said back in 2020 something he's going to take his sideline, but then the man come out and the man run anything. The man, so the inauguration is just a show. This inauguration thing, we all of us know, most of us know where the power lies. We know who runs the show, where the power lies. So we got to look at these things. And you know, the biggest coming out of this thing, I ain't got time to go into it in great detail now, but trust me, we're going to come back to it. A man tell me this morning when he read the president talking about the formation. The formation of this specialized or dedicated anti-corruption unit. That word exists. I don't know that corruption exists in Guyana. We have a program titled, and Portia going to say entitled because I've done the research, and entitled can be correct too. We have a program titled Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption Incompetence. And we have seen, and we have heard evidence repeatedly. I don't know that is how it works. Once an allegation is made, you need to find the evidence. So they decide now, as they had said in the manifesto, that the next government will establish anti-corruption unit. And I have a lot of questions to ask about that. I don't know, and to analyze that unit. Yes, you're gonna have people in Guyana, I know that, who can do a proper investigation, whether it's anti-corruption or any other investigation. But this PPP want people who are aligned to them and who can dance to the tune. That is what they do. Remember back in the day when they wanted to reform the force and they wanted some foreigner who have brought Bernard Cleric, former NYPD commissioner, who was a damn criminal. That is what they're going to do. They're going to put, that is what, they are not going to look for people with credibility who are professionals and who have credibility. The allegation that Barrett Jagdeo takes $500,000 from Chinese to facilitate business. That is why yeah, let me deal with the next show. They're gonna come out, they come out and tell about this triumphalism, but this is not a place for y'all, yeah? This is not a place for y'all. We pay for this platform and we're gonna encourage you with your nonsense. So we understand. So why come there, some dancing, do sing, say some chipping is there, get you the he or she, whoever it is, quick time. So then you're gonna investigate. If you want to investigate, you get this damning allegation by Junior Bash, recent, very recent, which implicates the president and ministers of the government, right? He talks in detail about the gold smuggling with the Brazilian Maduro regime and certain people who are named. You tell me, well, let me say, you might not want to investigate that, but I'm sure that the U.S., Uncle Sam, will be looking into that. I'm sure. And somebody asks about sanctions. Now that the elections are over, people gone for the black tanks, because it's then the shitting and start. Because you would have noted, and I have noted, that in the lead up to the elections, PPP ministers and them bigwig, they didn't travel into the U.S. They put a ban on themselves going to the U.S. I don't know if their visa get taken away or if they still have the visa and they decide this questioning, this pulling in thing ain't good enough and good for your health. Too much of pulling and good for your health. So they weren't going there at all. Right? They're not going there. So I'm saying that if you're going to form an anti-corruption unit, a credible unit, you have to get people who are credible. You have to get people who are independent. You have to make sure that they get the terms and the mandate and the resources to do a proper investigation. So therefore, if you have a head of this unit and the head feels that, look, he needs to get foreign assistance, he should have the mandate and the resources to get foreign assistance. Not like the Canadian man that they bring with the Adriana Young murder. I can't see some wither up maple leaf, come to talk a lot of crap, take the money and go. No, you have to have a proper unit. So I waited to see. That's what you said yesterday, they're going to have this unit. They're going to have this anti-corruption unit. And somebody said that is the laugh, or that is the laugh of the century. PVP, President Ali, talking about formation of an anti-corruption unit. He said a lot of stuff. He talked about going after people who with inaccurate information. We don't have time today to deal with it. We don't have time to deal with it, but we're going to go through all of those things that were said. And I suspect that by the time we come to the next program, more will be said. More will be said. And we're going to analyze this. Because enough talk. We haven't touched on the pronouncements by the observer missions. Most of them say it was free and fair. I asked the question, what is free and what is fair? How can you say the elections were fair when in the same breath you talk about all the use of state resources, you talk about the voters list. We saw Commonwealth citizens who were not eligible to vote. So how can it be fair? F-A-I-R. I know there was a lot of fear, F-E-A-R. A lot of fear. People were afraid. And let me tell you, part of the evidence of fear, F-E-A-R, is the high number of spoiled votes. High number. You know what happened? If you went around, you would have seen. PVP had the operation almost in front of every polling place. They had the agents and the supporters outside with the list that corresponded with that polling place. And what they were doing, they were ticking off the names of the people who are going to vote. They were making a note of people. So they knew who went to vote and they knew who did not vote. But let me talk with who went to vote first. People knew of the operation, and therefore people were fearful of staying away. That is the fear, FEAR. They want to stay away because if you stayed away from voting, they had a mechanism to know that you did not vote. And therefore people were afraid of victimization. So what they did, they turned up. And many of them, I believe, deliberately spoil their vote. So you can't know whether it's their own spoil or not. Again, if they stayed home, the records will show that they did not vote. And it's going to be victimization. So people are smart. They don't want to be victimized. They don't want to vote for them because of the ills and all the corruption and all the incompetence. So let me turn up. So they're going to take off that to turn up and vote. But they're going to go in the box and just pile the vote. Either I put no X at all, put back a blank box, put a blank ballot in the box, or I put a big X, or I maybe even write something, FU or something now, and chum in there. So it's just pile vote. So that is a fear, FEAR. But how would the observers who came here a couple morning note all of these things? Note the manipulation of the old mechanism. We talk about it, and I see people commenting on the bloated voters list. The change of laws long before, like the registration of births and deaths, which now allows for anybody to say you're Guyanese, and you get source documents, you can get passport, you get ID card. They still cannot answer the question as to how Bangladeshis got ID card within this period. People have said on this program, I saw up to Friday, people said, look, even as in March this year, they went to get identification card. People traveled. Somebody told me that they traveled from the US or some other country to go to Guyana to them to get identification card. And when I went to GCOM said the period they're not issuing, the period closed to issue an identification card. And we saw Bangladeshi get identification card in June and July of this year. This is March, these people went, all of those things are part of the took place. And you're telling me that it was fair, FAIR? No way. No way. We big, but we ain't stupid. We big, but all of those things should be investigated. And finally, before bringing CC, and we're going to talk about this again because we have a lot more to speak about, right? On this old election thing, the old manipulation of the old process. Some of these people come a month or even 2 months before. Some of them come just a week before and tell you what is free and free. They talk about that on election day. And elections, as we have come to see, are rigged long before then. Long before manipulation of the old system, change law, change this, all sort of thing. Look, again, I don't know, because this Freedom of Information Act that you have, the Commission of Information don't do nothing. Information is not provided. It will be good to know from a research perspective how many Commonwealth nationals, especially those from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, came to Guyana within the past 2 years or so. And for what reason and so on. Because even though we saw the 20-something Bangladeshis for one and just and so on, there might be thousands of them, the communist driver. We have had the communist driver, the communist laborer, the communist all kind of thing. And the thing is not just to bring them to do those tasks, but to claim that they are Commonwealth citizens and they should vote. Nandalal made a statement to the effect and threatened people that the Constitution allows for them to vote. Yeah, he didn't tell you, you talk about the residency. He didn't talk about people have to be domiciled. They didn't talk about that. All that is part of the thing. All that is part of it. So let me understand what is going on. And we're going to talk more about them issues. Let me bring in CC for him to close, and we're gonna for him to comment on that, and then we're gonna close in remarks. CC, your closing, my brother, and your comments.
Yeah, they talk about anti-corruption unit or whatever you set up. And I remember the second vice president, Jack Dio, he said against corruption, he said, bring the evidence. Bring there, so what corruption thing they're going to do. And then if they do bring it in, I won't be surprised if they bring people from RAS. Even Barbados getting problem with crime and so forth, and they're looking out there, looking to us. Or if they're going to bring back another dry up maple leaf to look at corruption. You know, so many things you can't even trust them. Corruption, and then corruption, you can't use the word in parliament. Now, if you're gonna look at this election, you're gonna evaluate, you're gonna analyze. And I listen to some of the observers, and they concentrate heavily on E-Day, election day, when in terms of my training, when I used to do, and I always got to call Larry Lewis time, events before, he's called it E minus. Events, then you get E, there's election day, and you get E plus is after election. Things that happen before election, those things are critical. They're going to analyze. And maybe on another session, we're going to analyze a lot of things went there that influence voting long before E-Day. So when I concentrate upon E-Day, 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 you got to look before because they set it that way. Events, activities, unlawful events that took place before election that caused people to vote a certain way. The use of state resources, the use of the human and other resources. And those are critical things that they need to look at. So don't worry about it. People say, hey, everything all right, and things. No, 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 no. That is on E-Day. What we're talking about before that, they set it up, as we say, they prepare the pitch long in advance that would suit their bowling. That's what they do. Prepare the pitch long in advance to suit their bowling so that they can get the desired results. Although they do it unlawfully. But that is what happened. But more on E minus and more on E and E plus. Talking about events before election day and after election.
All right, good. Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. Let me just close off here. We people talk about, look. Let me show you. Um, look at this comment here. Person said, I went to get my ID card in May, and they told me that I have to wait until September after the elections. And now I am seeing others were issued with ID card after I was turned away. That is what happened. Next person say, look, I was told in 3 months I have to wait to collect my ID card. So those are the things. Those are some of the things that denied some people ID card and facilitated these what they call Commonwealth nationals with identity card so they can vote. Put them on the list so they vote. Those are some of the things that any proper analysis should pick up. Those are the things that I look for. Not every day. Yeah, no one can deny that the thing was relatively smooth on a day, even though you had a lot of shenanigans during the course of the night. I saw videos and other things. Clear, people look like they're stuffing ballot boxes and all this stuff. Clear evidence of irregularities. Clear evidence. But when these things were drawn, Claudette Singh said, the Constitution says if you're not satisfied with the result, go to election petition. And she's right. Go to the election petition. But that wasn't the issue in 2020. 2020, no. They didn't know for go to election petition. So the rules changing all along. I'm talking about Claudette Singh in this whole operation. Where is she? I have not seen the chairman of the election commission at any press conference briefing people. Is she well? I got to ask that. I asked it before. Where is the chairman of the Guyana Election Commission, retired Justice Claudette Singh? Where is she? Where is she? All we saw was the chairman and the deputy, not the chairman, the CEO and the deputy CEO and the PR, them talking. And nobody can tell you nothing but what we saw. I saw the declaration and what looked like our signature on the declaration. You don't even know if she signed or if they get some, if it's a stamp signature. Yeah, no. But where's she there? Where is she? At the time when all sort of things are going on, she missing in action. MIA, missing in action. We had a lot more to talk about this election. As I said before, we are not political scientists. I am not. CC is not. I'm sure you're going to admit that he's not. But there are so many things for that the casual observer would have observed. I need to talk about it. You need to talk about it. Because we're looking to going forward. And if you're going to move forward, they tell you, oh, forget the past. But you can't forget the past. The past will inform how you operate in the future. And if you forget the past, and that is what has been happening. Because election observers came here in 2020, following all the delays and all the court action, and they made certain recommendations. They talk about the bloated list. They talk about biometrics. They talk about all kind of things. And what happened? Nothing substantial. They come back with the same thing, and they're going to go again. They're going to put up a report. They're going to tell you about bloated list, 700 and something thousand people from a population of 800,000. What happened to the census report? All of these things. All of these things people should be looking into. All of us part of the rigging, the withholding of the census report, which would have perhaps put the opposition parties and them in a particular place to know where the demographics lie and so on, changing demographics. That is why you have a census, and that is why they deliberately withheld the report. And they added, they add the information on the census so they can use it to their advantage. So how is that fair? How is that fair? They're going to talk again about the advantage of incumbency and all sorts of fancy terms they're going to use. A lot of diplomatics speak. That is what you're going to have. But the thing was not fair. F-A-I-R. It was a lot of fear. F-E-A-R. People are frightened. People, look, the atmosphere, and you're going to get worse, because people have told me, let me understand this thing, people have told me, many persons have told me, bye, I'm frightened for come for your program and make any comment because I just got for trouble to Guyana or I get family in Guyana, next year they're going to victimize them. How can that be a democratic society where people are afraid? Look at the statement made by the president yesterday about going after crackdown on inaccurate information sources. We're going to talk about that in the next program. A president at his inauguration threatening to crack down on perceived inaccurate information sources. In other words, what he's saying, that if you come, who determines that the information is inaccurate? You come and you say something, it's not favorable to the government, he's saying they're going to come after you. He's saying, and in the meanwhile, you get some people who are aligned to them, who they favor, can go and say whatever they want to say. They can go and malign people, defame people, do all kind of things. Cuss you up, tell you all sort of things. And nothing happens to them. Absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, they have unfettered access to the powers that be. So what are they telling us? What are they telling us? Folks, let me close off with these few things. I'll tell you about the African proverb, The African proverb says, look at it, read it for yourself, and reflect on what happened over the past week or so. Out of hatred for the cockroach, the ants voted for insecticide. They all died, including the housefly that didn't even vote. So out of hatred for Arbinaton and the Apnew and all them type of thing, they vote for whoever got for them, and all of them going to die, including those who did not vote. Understand what this African proverb is saying. Understand it. And I have another quote, and I'm going to put up, and I have to thank one of the students for sending this to me. Look what this one says. Choose your leaders with wisdom and foresight and forethought. To be led by a coward is to be controlled by all that the coward fears. To be led by a fool is to be led by the opportunistic, who are the opportunists who cannot control the fool. To be led by a thief is to offer up your most precious treasure to be stolen. To be led by a liar is to ask to be lied to. To be led by a tyrant is to sell yourself and those you love into slavery. That is Octavia E. Butler. Now, me say so. I just put it up because I think it is relevant. I think it is relevant. And as I close, don't ever forget, this can't stop. We ain't gonna stop playing this.
Sit there and fabricate that. Unless you say who the person is, I can't comment on anonymous people.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jurong?
Su. Oh, Su. My relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, he is a friend of ours.
He claims.
We saw that. We can't stop, because it's still there. Corruption. Now that they're putting up this anti-corruption unit, let's see if they're going to investigate that. That ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen. That Sugate allegation is not going to happen. That investigation is not going to happen. At least not by the local people. The investigation into the allegations made by Junior Bash, naming the president and ministers and the president more than all them, no proper investigation is going to be done into that. At least by this, by the Guyanese. Nothing going to happen. The fact that they can take $8.5 million from Amir Ahmad, no investigation into that. And you have so many others. For example, let me close off with this one. Tell you about transparency. Not so long ago, well, the time dragging now, they told us that 4 policemen robbed some Chinese or a Chinese man when he came out of the casino in Church Street. And they were under close arrest. What happened to that? What happened to that matter? They were telling you, piss poor performance and corruption. That is what happens. Big release. Policeman OPR investigating. Police inspector is accused of robbing Chinese men. Men not been some money. They came out. Police confront them. Take away some money. Nothing happened. That is the country. But that is where you have vote to continue. Remember? And we say that is where you vote to have continue. And you remember the thing was said, the man said, somebody said, let me read this part. And this guy can always try to remember this part. Let me get it. He said, the man said, the people who vote for the people, everyone, let me read it here, I find it. Everyone who supports the PPP does so for one or two reasons, race or money. Either their loyalty is rooted in racism or in direct monetary benefit through contracts or connection. That can mean Manchester. That can used to read GHK Land, I can read that. Everyone who votes for the PPP. Everyone who supports the PPP does so for one of two reasons, race or money. Either their loyalty is rooted in racism or in direct monetary benefits through contracts and connections. Folks, we have had a long morning. Again, I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your attendance. And to say to you, again, I ask that you stay well. You people throwing acid on people shooting, people sitting in car. Women are an endangered species. Fatal accidents again over the weekend. A child 11 crushed to death. Somebody at Rhymesec killed. That is what you're going to happen. That is what some people want to continue. That is what they call progress. So be safe. Remember, you are responsible for your own safety. In the first instance, you are responsible for your safety. Folks, again, thanks for being here. Gospel Life, we're going to come again Wednesday morning at 11. Wednesday, we're planning to come at 11 again. I want you to stay well. Until then, bye.